Yo ho everybody, and welcome to another edition of Yinzer on Hockey. Before we begin, make sure you go down below, hit that like button, click the subscribe button, and make sure you click that little bell so you stay up to date on all the off-season happenings. So today, scrolling through Bleacher Report, I found an article from, I think it was DK Pittsburgh, outlining the players with the most to prove for the Pittsburgh Penguins this year, and I want to kind of give my own take on players that I think have a lot of expectations to live up to and a lot to prove this year in this upcoming season. Start off with Daniel Sprong. Daniel Sprong, no longer waiver eligible, so he will be on the big league roster this year, and will probably be playing a top six pairing, possibly if he moves to left wing. If not, he'll be on that third line. And he definitely, to me, he has a lot to prove because the Penguins fan base has been clamoring about Daniel Sprong for the past few years and wanting him to get up with the big team and prove that he belongs. And he's never really been given the opportunity to be a mainstay on the roster. So, in total, since being drafted number 46 overall in the second round in 2015, he's played, about 26 games with the Penguins, totaling 4 goals and 1 assist for a total of 5 points in the NHL. And that's not a guy that is going to be a mainstay if he doesn't improve on those numbers. Now, last year in Wilkes-Barre, he played 65 games, had 32 goals, 33 assists, total of 65 points, point per game, was an AHL All-Star, and I think he was an All-AHL player at the end of last season. So the production is there at the AHL level. He's just got to be able to translate those skills to the NHL, and I think with the talent around him, he should have a very good opportunity this year with regular playing time to make his case to stay in the NHL. Next on my list is Jack Johnson. Jack Johnson this year signed a 5-year, $15 million contract with the Penguins, a little over $15 million, as a free agent. And his production has been decreasing over the past few years, and he hasn't really lived up to the potential that he once showed during his time in Columbus. Last year, in 77 games, he had 3 goals, 8 assists, and 11 points. It was a -6. Obviously, he was a healthy scratch at the end of last season in the playoffs for Columbus and towards the end of the regular season. So he's got a lot of work to do to prove that he still needs to be a top 4 defenseman at the NHL level. And I think, especially on Pittsburgh's blue line, there's not a lot of time for trial and error with this defensive core. We need to find steady defensemen to put in that roster and to perform right away, and that's something we've missed on in the past couple of years with our defensemen. Obviously losing guys like Hainsey and Trevor Daley, that really hurt our defensive core from what it was 2 years ago when we won the Stanley Cup. So with Alexiak's new contract and Jack Johnson being added to the defensive core, Jack Johnson's going to have to prove a lot that he belongs on this roster, because this is a Stanley Cup roster, and we don't have time to really re-educate players on how to play the game. So he needs to come in right away and fit into the system. Next on my list is Matt Murray. It's Penguins fans. There's a split in the Penguins fan base as to the idea of keeping Matt Murray and letting Marc-Andre Fleury be drafted by the Vegas Golden Knights. I'm of the camp that says we absolutely made the right decision. You are obviously going to take a 23-year-old goaltender who's won 2 Stanley Cups on an entry-level contract, over a 33-year-old goaltender on a $4.5 million contract. It was just more fiscally responsible. It was the right move to make. It didn't really pan out last year, although there was a lot going on with Matt Murray. Obviously, the tragedy with his father and missing time with various injuries. He was just, every time he would start to get into a groove and it seemed like, okay, this is the Matt Murray that we protected in the expansion draft, something else would happen and he would get injured, or the tragedy, or other things, and he would end up missing time, and he could never really get into that groove again, or it took him some time to get back into that groove that he was going on. Finished the season last year with a .907 save percentage and a 2.92 goals against average, with 27 wins. So I look for him, if he's able to play 50 to 55 games next year, which is a bit much, but that's kind of what you're expecting from an unquestioned starter, then I look for his numbers to actually improve the more he plays, because he is a guy that relies on repetition, on consistent play time to perform. And I think his numbers are going to improve, but again, this is a Stanley Cup team. He only has, I think, another 2 years left on his current contract before he is a free agent again, so this is that time where he needs to start proving that he is the unquestioned number one. Next on my list, a couple of surprise candidates on my list here with guys that need to make a big impact. The first one I have is Patrick Hornqvist. Patrick Hornqvist is a fantastic player. He's so gritty, tough in front of the net, great on the power play because he's the guy that obviously gets in front of the goaltender, plays in that tough area. And the reason I think that Patrick Hornqvist has to have a great year is because we just signed him to that big contract. He's 31 years old. He's at that age where, players start to, flip over and start to go down the hill a little bit. Last year he had 49 points last year, 29 goals, 20 assists. I would like to see his assist numbers up a little bit at even strength. I'd like to see him moving the puck a little bit more, especially playing on a line with Sidney Crosby and Jake Gensel, if that is indeed where we keep him, or if we decide to move him down to that third line, to add more grit and toughness to that third line. I think that would be a perfect pairing for him as well. But I would like to see his assist numbers come up a little bit. Obviously want him to stay on the first power play, get those deflection goals, get those tough screens, and continue to perform. But I would like to see him live up to that contract that we just gave him. I think it's 5 years, 30 or 31 million. I don't remember the details of the contract, but it's a pretty hefty sum, and we're going to have him until he's about 36 years old, so he's going to have to perform to that contract. Next player on my list is Jake Gensel. And the reason that Jake Gensel is on this list is because regular season Jake Gensel has not yet matched playoff Jake Gensel. And I love players who show up in a big spot and play great in the playoffs, and he's done that year after year. In the past 2 years, he's had 21 points in each of the each season in the playoffs, and it's great that he's able to perform to that level in the playoffs. But we need to see that production in the regular season. In the regular season, in 82 games last year, he had 22 goals, 26 assists for 48 points. He was almost 2 points per game last year in the playoffs, and he is less than a half a point a game, or right around a half a point a game in the regular season. So we need to see him expand on those postseason numbers, bring that production to the regular season, and I feel like the Penguins would be a team competing for the President's Trophy if we get that type of production out of Jake Gensel, if Patrick Hornqvist lives up to the contract he earned, Matt Murray rebounds from his down year last year, Jack Johnson fits into the new defensive system, and if Daniel Sprong lives up to the fans' expectations. I'm not sure what the team's expectations are of Daniel Sprung, but the fans' expectations are tremendous, and they want him to be a regular first-line guy and bring that offensive talent to the NHL level. If all those things work out next year, or even if, say, 3 out of those 5 things work out next year, we could see the Penguins being a regular season threat for the President's Trophy. And then obviously, with the higher seeding in the playoffs, comes an easier path. Maybe not easier path, but at least you get to play at home in the playoffs. And that's what I think. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think is who's due to have a breakout year, who needs to have a great year or meet expectations in order for the Penguins to succeed in the regular season. Because we've always had those lulls in the regular season. I want to see us have a consistent 82-game regular season where we're in that top tier of NHL teams the whole way through the season. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And until I see you next time, have a good day.